Hello and welcome to Stephen University. This week we are discussing Historical Friction, the episode in which I was terrified of showing to Chris. Because when he was looking at the fact there was an Onion episode in the run and going, oh god, I don't want a side episode, I was going, oh shit, you're wrong about this one, but dear lord. Now, I want to clarify from the fact that I don't mind this episode at all, but it is misplaced. But we'll get into it. Chris, what was it about?
So, this episode was a Jamie-centric episode. The
Your
Steven
favourite
Universe,
character.
yeah, the Steven Universe equivalent to going around to friends for dinner and getting lasagna. It's fine, but let's be honest, it could have been more adventurous. And also, actually, while I'm ranting about that, if you go around a friend's house and you have cooked lasagna, just dish it up yourselves. Because when someone puts a full lasagna down and there's four of you and goes, oh, you're the guest, please go first, you don't take a quarter because you want to be polite. So you only take half of a quarter and then you watch every other fucker take a full quarter and then you look greedy when you go back for more. Oh, someone's hungry. No, Matt, I'm simply getting what was mine to begin with. So there's that.
Just to clarify, I mean, I'm gonna make a prediction here. That's not just a random thing that's happened. I mean, I think that's experience talking.
That has happened, and I took, because you do, don't you? You look at something and you're like, well, technically a quarter of that looks like that, but I can't take a quarter because what if no one else takes a quarter? I don't want to look greedy, so I just took half, and then fucking he did not even the bit of the lasagna I'd already started on, just cut out a separate corner, like a whole quarter, and was just like, yep, and I'm like, fucking brilliant, cool, and you can't go back in right away, scoop it up, anyway, So there's that. So he and Stephen chat about the fact that he's putting on a play sponsored by Mayor Dewey about the history of the town and his heritage within the town, the mayor's. So Stephen goes to audition. They go through the play and Jamie's complaining because it's really bad because Mayor Dewey's kind of written the script and bent it towards what he feels it should be in the image he should be presenting for his family. Stephen goes back. We get our one scene of the episode that's relevant to the bomb, where Pearl confirms she's still upset. That was worth knowing. So Pearl then shares the actual truth, which involves the gems. They were there first. They warned them to go away. Stephen takes all that, rewrites the script. Him and Jamie decide to power through and do it. The mayor gets very nervous because his ancestor is shown to be quite cowardly. Then the crowd begins to come round because, as his son says, like he's made the character look like a real person. The mayor's happy, Jamie's happy. Jamie gets offered a role directing and acting in local theatre, or at least just putting on plays, basically, and gets really excited about that. There's quite a nice gag about how he should always end on a joke, and then there's silence and it ends. As you alluded to, it's actually fine. It's actually a perfectly good episode. It depends how you want to judge it. If you want to judge it as an episode, then it's more funny than anything. And you get a bit of kind of context for the gems and how long they've been there. So it's perfectly passable as an episode, and it's perfectly entertaining as an episode. If you judge it on its placement as episode 4 of a bomb, with the view that the bombs need to be this kind of big event type thing, which, to be fair, like, assuming, like, and well, no, it is partly Cartoon Network's fault for being like, here's a bomb, we planned this, the last time. And maybe there's the insinuation. Oh yeah, and giving it a name as well. The week of sardonics, like they've named that has, with the exception of that one Pearl scene, which doesn't change anything from what we already know from the episode before. Well, from like 3 episodes before. It isn't involved in that. So I think that you have a right to judge it either way, and if you judge it as episode 4 of a bomb, then it's a bit like, it's a bit frivolous and a bit. See, disappointing feels too harsh, but a bit like, oh, that's a shame, you know. Especially when they did such a good job with Onion Friend, and linking that in. Like, you could have even just made it, like, just thinking about it now, like riffing on it, you could have made what the gems' involvement more, you know, Pearl and Garnet disagreed on, or maybe like Pearl and Amethyst disagreed on something, and Garnet calmed them down. Like, you know, you show you show a bit of Garnet and Pearl's friendship in the flashbacks, or that presentation of it. I think there's ways it could have been done.
You could have
but
even
it is
done
not
what
in
you
any means.
You could have even done
a
what you
bad
suggested
episode.
last week. You suggested, not say last week, sorry, yesterday for listeners, because you sort of said, it's called historical friction. Maybe the gems have come to odds historically in the past, and we're going to see maybe a glimpse of that. So maybe you do echo the current story in the play between the gems, and then you sort of have that make Pearl reassess slightly her position, or Garnet reassess her position. Maybe.
Yep, that would work.
Which is sort of what you got from the title, because that also does seem a bit unfortunate to call it historical friction in a bomb that's sort of about friction between two characters. Does seem a little bit teasy.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
Presumably the title refers to the fact that there's a friction in the version of events. Like
yes. It's
it's
again a perfectly fine title until you place it in this bomb, and then it becomes questionable because you sort of go, that's a little bit tricky.
Which is exactly the headline about the episodes. Perfectly fine episode until you place it this way in the bomb.
Yeah,
and then you're just like, oh.
Yeah. So go on.
It is entertaining. It is funny. It's one of those weird ones where, like, I can't imagine this is going to be a lengthy podcast, because basically its biggest merit is the jokes, and me and you repeating the jokes for half an hour isn't good podcasting. So I don't even know. There's not necessarily too much to analyse. I don't personally feel either. Some good character stuff. The mayor learnt a bit. And like I say, getting that context of the gems, being a part of the town's history is pretty cool.
Well, I mean, there's a few things that we could chat about, because I think some of this is interesting because, I mean, first of all, we reveal that Mayor Dewey's ancestor founded Beach City, so that's an interesting thing we didn't know, and it was roughly founded about 200 years ago, which is, again, it makes the town a lot more recent than maybe you might have imagined, and you sort of realize as well that, like, the humanity and the gems sort of crossed over in more obvious ways, which might explain some of the town's indifference or lack of surprise to the gems.
Yes, yeah, I liked that. I like the fact that you go, oh, well, this is why no one's like, we need to move, or no one's like, well, this is fucked up, because it's been happening since the beginning of, them in the town. Like, you'd have grown up. Every person in that town would have grown up with the gems, like, so.
Yeah. And then there was the notion as well of the fusing, because the monster looked like Centipede when they first fought it in the very first episode, and the fusion was all three of them. So I guess it was Alexandrite. Have I got that? That is right, isn't it? It's Alexandrite.
Yeah, well, Stephen also refers to it as a giant woman, so that was my assumption. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I found surprising, because I was like, well, they've referenced Rose. And Stephen's not 200 years old, so Rose is here at this point. So
yeah, maybe they scooted round Rose out of mild compassion, Stephen.
Oh, maybe.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. So if Rose is about, it may not have even been Alexandrite then. It would have been.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, Rose is presumably, it's a fusion of the five of them. Like, Rose is presumably in any big fusion, it would be all five. So,
which would have explained why it was so big. Because did you notice that, like, when it got closer, its feet were like bigger than the boat? Like, it was the way they did it. And I know we're analysing Jamie's, sort of low end amateur theatre production, but assuming he got the scaling right, it was massive, like way bigger than Alexandrite, I think. So you're right. That would be
definitely.
So that would be Ruby, Sapphire, Rose, Pearl, and Amethyst. Yeah, 5. Yeah, you're right.
But again, it's not. It's it's us not seeing Stephen ask the questions. So Pearl's telling this story, like, and Stephen's like, oh, presumably he's like, oh, so did you all fuse? What happened there? We just don't see that.
I think, and I don't know if it's been confirmed or if it's just a popular theory, but the temple they live in, the big statue-y thing. That's I think the theory is that is the fusion of all 5.
Okay.
But I honestly can't remember what it's called. There is a name for it, I'm sure. I'm sure if there isn't an official name for it, fandom has come up with a name for it. So
comment below.
Yeah. Comment below. But oh no, yeah, there's no need to dodge spoilers because Chris isn't going to read the comments.
You always say that like it's right that I don't read the comments. You always say that with a tone of he doesn't care. Like I care.
If you had no interest in spoilers, you still wouldn't be reading the comments.
No, I would. No, I legitimately would. Honestly,
no. I'm excited. I hope we catch up before the show ends, so that we can do episodes as it's airing, and you're free to read comments. That'd be a fun experience. In fact, cool. I might even just hand over the replying to them to you for a bit, just so because none of the listeners interact with you, and it's a shame because they're lovely people, and we talk to them all the time. I talk to them all the time through the I try to respond as often as I can to the comments. Sometimes a couple of days later than the episode goes up, but eventually I do get there, and it is always been.
And from what I see, because like I say, even like you can't say I don't care. I get a friend to look and tell me about
this
them
is true,
and Jess to do the same. And from what I see, most people are like, "Oh, spoilers for Chris." Da da da. But you can't risk. Imagine if I went on and like found out about Garnet by the comments. Like you can't, risk that.
Well, you can see. You can see why people were so concerned about spoilers. I think that is. This is a legit concern because there's still so many huge things that could be completely ruined for you. And that's what I'm excited about getting through, getting to some of these other sort of iconic episodes. And I do think that
go
on.
No, you go.
I was just gonna say, I even the last episode of this bomb is one I remember very, very fondly. I remember really enjoying.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. In terms of iconic, what is your and what is fandom's opinion? Is it on this episode? Is it basically? It depends how you want to judge it. Either way, you can judge it, or is it just because we're doing a bomb in this way?
We're doing the bomb unusually. Let's be honest, because we're still recording these a couple of weeks, aren't we? Because we've gotten so far ahead that even though we're releasing them one a day, we're not recording them one a day. Most people experience these episodes in a sort of fashion of bulk watching. Because you either did what happened to me, which is me and Nadia watched the first one together on the Monday night, but then I was working late a couple of shifts. So then we got to watch the next 3 or 4 together. So because they're released one a day, you bulk watch it. And I think in a bulk watch, this episode is not less offensive. Offensive is the wrong word. Because the episode follows it is obviously a heavier and more involved one, as I'm sure you can assume, because obviously it's the final episode of this bomb, and it's called Friendship. So I think that's a title that tells you that it is back on topic, as it were.
It's about a ship in the sea called Friend.
Yeah, and because this episode is strictly speaking a good episode, there is nothing wrong with this episode from any other perspective, other than that it is just
as we have both
misplaced.
said.
That's the only criticism you can really gain against it. Everything works. The character motivations make sense. The story is interesting. It's funny where it needs to be. It's a perfectly solid episode of the show. It's just out of place. But so when you're watching it in bulk, you don't really care about the out of placeness of it because it's not like you built up a single episode like that. It's you watch it as a unit, and it's one weird little tangent in the middle. And it's entertaining enough that you don't mind, and you've got the conclusion straight after, within 24 hours. At worst? Do
you think it would be better? I can appreciate what you're saying. Is most people probably aren't judging it in the way that we are here and now, but there will be some. Do you think it would have been better if this was literally in the middle and they swapped this and Onion Friend round?
Yeah, I couldn't decide if. I think the danger of doing that, and I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. The danger of doing that is you'd get to this one then, episode 4, and it would start as an Onion episode, and you'd be annoyed.
Yeah.
Because you'd be like, another deviation.
But this starts as a Jamie episode, and you can be annoyed.
Yeah, but you've just seen an Onion one where you've gone, that was an Onion one, and they found a way to weave it in. This is a Jamie one. Maybe they'll do the same, Whereas you do it the other way around.
Fair.
You're starting the Onion one and going, another deviation. So you might be disengaged.
Literally has them running away from the house.
Yeah. So yeah, I think both ways are risky. This might be the least risky way to do it of the two. But yeah, and I think maybe not, because maybe this is the wrong way to do it, because maybe with this, maybe the other way around, you'd be pleasantly surprised when the Onion episode turns out to be more, rather than mildly annoyed because maybe when this started, you did the same thing. You went, oh, maybe they proved me wrong with Onion. Let's see where this goes. Maybe you had expectations.
Yeah, I
for
think
them to
you
get
quickly. You'd quickly go off that though, because you kind of go, right, well, he's doing a fake version. Now he's rewriting it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose at a certain point you would have to accept.
You've only got 11 minutes. Yeah, you've only got 11 minutes. So the second you realise there's going to be two versions of this play, you realise there's little time for anything else.
Yeah. What did you think of Jamie's acting impressions of the gems? Because because to be honest with you, that's Nadia's my girlfriend's favourite part of this episode. She loves that he wears the party mask for Pearl's nose. Like, it's all very low budget.
And it's very for the fans. And like I say, it's, again, to reiterate again, it's a very good episode. And that kind of thing, those fun little nods and that humour that comes from that, and also the acting high five, like, it's all, there's a few winks and nods. There's some great jokes. It's really strong.
Yeah. They did promo art for this one ahead of time, and they did it with one of those masks of, comedy and tragedy. To sort of hint what the episode was going to be about. Let's have a look. This is stuff we've already talked about. I'm just thinking if there's any interesting information about this one that we haven't sort of, Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, apparently the Garnet at the end of Love Letters specifically advised Jamie to start with local theatre. I don't necessarily directly remember that moment, but that is quite funny.
No, she does. Yeah, no, I can remember that. That's brilliant.
Yeah. I also love as well that, if you remember, in that episode he wore movie star glasses.
Yeah, I recognise the glasses as well.
Yeah, they reappeared in this episode when he was doing Garnet, which I loved, because it's so, like, the idea that it's so low budget they couldn't afford a more Garnet pair of glasses, so they just had to wear his existing sunglasses. And his Garnet impression was very funny. And also Amethyst just being a mop, like, that was... I found that quite hilarious as well.
Yeah, you almost wanted them in the audience as well to get their reactions.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have.
In a way, this actually reminds me slightly of an episode. The episode of Avatar is better, in my opinion, but there's an episode of Avatar called The Ember Island Players. And it's an episode towards the end of the third and final season, where they were sort of the production guys, but they were the production guys, the creative team were asked to do a sort of clip show, because they wanted to remind people of, the story so far before they went into the final stretch of sort of 5 to 10 episodes. I think it's 5 episodes. And they wanted to do that, but they didn't literally want to do a clip show. So they asked for the budget to actually do a brand new episode where Aang and the gang go to see a play about everything they've done so far. But they're all unhappy with it for different reasons. So it's showing their reactions to the events as they've occurred in this play.
What's the story reason for the players to know all of it?
It's become local legend as the show's gone on. It's been established that they're becoming quite famous. So, but it's also in the Fire Nation, so it's got a sort of like a Fire Nation slant on it, like it's propaganda. So it's really, really well done. Because you've seen most of the first season, so that none of that is
I've seen all of the first season.
Yeah. So but it's a really good episode, and it's actually, you get a few funny moments and a few good character moments too with it, because it forces them to reassess how they got where they are. But this vaguely reminds me of that, and you're right, the missed opportunity. And Ember Island Players, that episode of Avatar, sort of proves that. Is that the opportunity is to have them in the crowd reacting to it, because that's where you get some of your more interesting character and comedy stuff, because because they were directly involved. But then again, it's an 11-minute episode, and to have fit that in as well as this Mayor Dewey arc, because the arc of the episode is Mayor Dewey coming around to seeing a more flawed and more honest version of his ancestor, rather than the more propaganda-y version that was like, I'm great, I founded this city. Because he comes across more brave in Jamie's version because he has so much adversity and he overcomes so many issues. And I think you lose that, I suppose, if you spend a bit more time with the gems, because that I don't know how you fit all that in still. And that is still a really good like sort of plot, as it were.
Yeah, plus this is a Pearl thing. Why are they there supporting a Pearl thing, given the current situation? Like, it would have been too cluttered,
Yeah. Also, a little bit of another thing as well. Apparently, this is the second time somebody has imitated Pearl by wearing a party hat on their nose. Apparently, in so many birthdays, Amethyst did the same thing. I don't remember that moment, but there you go.
Amazing.
Oh, and also, here, obviously, there's the recurring idea that Mayor Dewey thinks Pearl is the good-looking one.
Which I still love.
It does. Well, mostly, Chris, because it confirms your own...
How dare you?
I'm making that a thing. I'm waiting for like people to like ship you two. Like, I want to see the Chris somehow winds up into the show and meets Pearl fan fiction.
That is not fan art I want to see. Like, I love you guys sending stuff, but we don't need to see that. And if we see that, I want you and Ronaldo. Like, people are going to do me and Pearl, I want Dan and Ronaldo like working on a vlog together.
That'd be amazing. Yeah. Someone's got to put that together. That's all I'm saying. So
good episode. I look for... What's the next one called?
The next one is called Friendship.
Oh, okay. My prediction's going to be about Garnet and Pearl.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna tell you you're wrong. Because you're not.
Boom.
I think at this point though, I mean, that's all that's left to happen, right? Is to sort of like for that story to come to a head, because
it's got because they're verging on stretching it out
100%.
If they go beyond the bomb.
Yeah. Which and then we're into a really interesting stretch of episodes. Really interesting stretch. Oh wow, we're not far off Sadie's
In what
song.
way?
Dear Lord, it feels like we're really getting towards sort of the more modern area now. These are episodes that aired within the last sort of 2 years. This feels a lot more recent now. Yeah, there's an episode there's an episode coming up called Sadie's Song, which I'm very fond of.
Ooh, Sadie. I like Sadie.
You do like Sadie. We've established this actually. I'd sort of forgotten about that, but you do like Sadie, don't you?
I feel like I friend-zoned Sadie, though. Whereas Pearl, I'm open to things. I'm very aware they're animated characters.
There's a really interesting stint of episodes, actually, starting with, I think, somewhere around an episode called When It Rains, that I'm going to be very interested to get your reaction to. So it's all very exciting. There's good stuff coming up, Chris.
Cool.
Good stuff coming up. And I'm sure there's another bomb in the works. Not for a little while, but yeah, I can see it here.
We will bomb again when the time comes.
Yes. In fact, I think the next bomb will be launching... Or is this the one that launched on the 1st of January? I don't know. I mean, I'm so lost now in this. I don't know where we are. I don't know what date it is.
That'd be cool, though. Little New Year treat if it does line up that way.
Something lines up that one of the bombs definitely starts on the 1st of January. It could very well be the one we're doing currently. No, it's the one I'm talking about. So yeah, so we're this episode is going up. This is the 4th of December. No, we are the 7th of December, Chris.
Cool.
We're in the future.
Oh, cool. I was going to say to you, we need to keep an eye on like when we need to say Merry Christmas.
Yeah, so that would be... There's an episode going out on the 22nd of December. There's an episode going out on the 26th of December, Chris. I'll make sure we reference it.
That's what people want for Boxing Day.
That is exactly what people want for Boxing Day, which is a British... Is that a British tradition, that Boxing Day?
I was just thinking that. When I said that, I was like, do they have Boxing Day in the States?
I don't think they do. But yeah, 26th, there's an episode going up, so we'll have to make sure we keep our eye on the dates as we go. But yeah, 1st of January is the fourth bomb, guys. The fourth bomb. Cool. It's very exciting. So yeah, and between now and then we got a bunch of really interesting episodes to get through. So yeah, I'm very excited to see where it goes. So yeah, that's everything for this week. I've been Dan Doolan.
I've been Chris Billingham.
And we'll see you tomorrow as we discuss friendship.